6.5 million more than watched the first debate. I don't know if Kamala Harris was the difference maker here. That would have been the change on the stage, of course. But does that make you feel like we're going to have another?
Well, listen, we'll see. Donald Trump initially came out and said, that he won the debate handily. Why would he want a rematch? Only the loser, presumably in his mind, Kamala Harris would want a rematch. I don't think there's any upside for necessarily either candidate to have a debate. If you're Donald Trump, I don't think he can give a much better performance than he did. He's not a good debater. And if you're Kamala Harris, sort of why risk a less than stellar performance going in? They have said maybe there's going to be something in October. I think we might run up to this sort of debate about a debate that sort of never happens. But listen, people watched it. People watched it probably from beginning to end because it was so compelling. Right. She was on offense the entire night, and Donald Trump was off his game. He says there that he won the debate. No, he didn't. He lost the debate, and he lost it handily. And Republicans know that, right? He might be fooling himself about who won or lost, but they very much know that that wasn't the Donald Trump that they wanted to see last night.
Well, and Nia, that Kamala Harris had a few moments that were less than perfect, but they were so obscured by Donald Trump's flights of fancy about immigrants in Ohio and babies being executed in delivery rooms. But, she kind of whiffed that first question, don't you think?
Yeah, about, she did.
It was hard to answer.
Yeah, there was sort of nervousness there. What I saw it as is there is this rap on Kamala Harris that she doesn't have enough policy, right? She needs to put more detail, more meat on the bones of this policy. So it was really a sort of policy recitation at the beginning about her opportunity agenda, the economy. And so it was like, that's out of the way, and now we can get to the business of this debate, which, from Kamala Harris's point of view, was just wailing on Donald Trump and just setting out bait traps. I think in some ways it started very early, her going on the offense. She gets out of the gate, she goes right over to him and shakes his hand, is in his space, and says, I'm Kamala Harris, let's have a good debate.
That was an interesting power play.
Yeah, it was a total power play, and she dominated really from that minute on.
Wendy mentions dogs, so I mean, we got to let's go there.
Yeah.
When asked about the issue of the border and immigration, Donald Trump had this to say about Springfield, Ohio, recalling some odd memes online. Take a listen.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just...
I've seen people on television, he says. Remarkable moment to think that this took place in a presidential general election debate. For what it's worth, I don't know, it seems to me there's only one presidential candidate who's tied to a story about eating a dog, and that's RFK Jr. He wasn't on the stage last night. What in the world was...
Listen, and we sort of talked about this earlier. I mean, this is racist, right? He's specifically talking about Haitian immigrants and this wild, crazy story about them stealing people's pets and cooking them for dinner. It's a complete lie. It has gained traction online. J.D. Vance has talked about it as well. He says, well, it's a rumor. We don't really know if it's true, but it's sort of worth talking about it because it shines a spotlight on some problem. But listen, this is what Donald Trump does. It's part of his repertoire, this idea that there are people who are unlike Americans who are coming here to kill Americans, and those people are black and they are brown. So close your windows and lock your doors, hide your wives and your children, and elect me president because I can protect you from those people. So that was what it was part of. It was a real low moment for him. It went viral. It really pierced through. People were like, what the heck is he talking about? People eating dogs. But again, it goes to what he did from the first moment that he ran for president. This idea when he was, talking about Mexicans coming over here, they're letting their killers and their rapists and their folks from the insane asylum. I think he's confusing that with asylum seekers, but
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, that gets back to Hannibal Lecter. I
Exactly.
guess he didn't bring that up last night. Wow. Bloomberg Opinions, Nia-Malika, Henderson. Thank you, Nia. Twice in 24 hours. We're doing well for ourselves. Did you see, Wendy, I went to bed with it trending on Twitter last night, woke up with it this morning. They're eating the dogs. was the top trending item, which is kind of amazing that we're doing this today.
It really is. And that was Donald Trump's big problem last night. There are legitimate things to argue with Kamala Harris about. There are problems from the Biden administration, which is why the current president was doing so poorly in the election until she took over. And the minute, as Nia said, the minute she threw out the hook with the rallies and other things and crowd size and things like that, he just lost it and went on these really strange sort of diatribes. And I think her facial expressions did so much. It was a great strategy because that was, instead of talking over him with the unmuted mics, while her mic was muted, she just did these great facial expressions that just said, what are you talking about? And it was what a lot of viewers were probably thinking.
Part of the strategy in a televised debate. Of course, if Kamala Harris has a big problem, to borrow a phrase from Wendy, it's inflation. And economic news, underlying inflation today picking up unexpectedly in August, rising 0.3% since July, 3.2% from a year ago. And we bring in Bloomberg's Enda Curran for a closer look at this. Enda, you were on Top Live on the terminal this morning, pointing first thing to housing costs, the role it played in this data.
Yeah, so there was a lot to like about the inflation data for August. Food prices barely moved. Cost of buying a new or used car fell. Energy costs tumbled. Coffee costs fell by the most on record. That's all a good news story. But yes, it was ruined by housing. Housing costs, shelter costs rose by 0.5%, the most this year. Now, by now, the big hope had been that rental costs would be slowing and, new houses would be coming on supply and overall housing costs would be falling. But these numbers have kind of put a dent in that blow. So that's why core inflation overall went up. It was the biggest contributor. It probably means the Fed can only lower interest rates now by maybe 25 basis points instead of the half basis points some people are talking about when they meet next week. So a good number overall, but housing is the real sting.
Well, and going back again to the debate last night, Kamala Harris did open by talking about her plans for a caring economy, which includes taking care of housing, child care, all the things that are going up in this report. But how much can the federal government actually do? How much could she actually accomplish to bring down those prices?
Well, if you think about the price gouging side of things, the inflation numbers on food tell you there's not much going on there right now. So maybe that gouging story, whether you buy it or not, has passed by. But on housing, it would seem that doing something in housing is very relevant right now, as those numbers today showed us. And Vice President Harris is talking about building 3 million new homes, $25,000 for some first-time home buyers, along with other measures to speed up construction. It seems that there's a fertile ground there to speed up the supply of housing, which would, by extension, bring down costs at some point. But, of course, the real trick is the policy levers you pull need to increase supply and not necessarily stoke demand, and then you start pushing against yourself. But the point is, I think there's fertile political ground there for either candidate.